Alright, here is the ultimate challenge. So, in this video, I am going to show you how to make this 2-liter bottle, or maybe it's a 20-ounce bottle, I don't know. Either way, out of these different shapes in Tinkercad. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different shapes that when we align them, when we align them together and we group them, we have a 2-liter bottle. So again, in this video, I'm going to show you how to actually make this 2-liter bottle out of these different shapes. But before I do that, let me ungroup here and show you what we got started with. So on the very bottom, we have this, what used to be a sphere. We cut off the top and the bottom, so that's the first thing that we'll make. And then you can see the next layer. This here is actually a cone, but it's been flipped upside down. So we can set the top radius and the bottom radius to make that cone. And that is then, it's made on top of this previous layer. So we're building up layer by layer by layer, moving the work plane up as we go. Third layer is a pretty simple cylinder here. If I wanted to make it more round, I could change the number of sides, so I'll do that in the final one. Then we have another cone, same thing. If we want to make it a little bit more round, we do that. Make this a little bit more round as well. So we've got that, and then finally we have this cylinder on top that is like the cap on our bottle. And again, when they're all aligned nicely together, they make the bottom. So let's go ahead and get into this. Alright, starting with this sphere. So this sphere, according to the blueprint, has a diameter, the widest part of the sphere, is 16 millimeters. So I'm just going to make it 16 millimeters by 16 millimeters by 16 millimeters. However, the actual sphere itself is only 10 millimeters tall. So I need to cut off the top 3 millimeters, and I need to cut off the bottom 3 millimeters. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. So I'll bring in the sphere. I'll hold shift and click on corner to make this 16 by 16 by 16. So that's the length, the width, and the height. But remember, I need to cut off the top 3 millimeters and the bottom 3. So to do that, I can just bring in a rectangle, change the height of the rectangle to 3 millimeters, and then to cut off the bottom 3 millimeters, I'll just move this down over here, and that'll cut off the bottom 3. And then I can just duplicate this, and then the entire sphere is 16 millimeters tall, so to cut off the top 3, I'll just move this to 13 millimeters. So that'll cut off the top 3, this will cut off the bottom 3, and to make that actually happen, we just need to click and highlight and group them together. So after I move this down 3 back to the surface here, I'll have that first cylinder. Okay, so after we have this base done, then the next thing is this little cone right here. Now the weird thing about the cones is that the dimensions are in radius and not diameter. So the diameter of the base of this cone is 12, which means the radius is just going to be 6. And then for the top of this cone, the diameter is 16, so that means that the radius will be 8. So let's go ahead and bring in a cone. To do that, all you do is just click and drag, and then we can set the base radius. So like I said, base is it's half of what we had before. So half of 12 is 6. You just type that in right there. And then for the top, half of 16 is 8. There we go. Now, for the height, we just have to look at the height here, and that height of the cone is 10 millimeters tall. So we'll change that height to 10. And then the last thing we have to do is just have to move it into position. So I messed up this time, and I didn't create a new work plane, so now I have to actually move this up 10 millimeters. Let's see where we're at. To be able to put these together, to line them up. I'll show you when I create the next shape how you can avoid having to move that thing up. Okay, so the next thing we're doing is we're creating this cylinder, and we're creating it on top of the cone that we just created. So if you want to make it easier, if you change your work plane, so that's where your surface that you're making new things on. So if you click on this tool, and then you click on this surface here, now we can just build things on top. So when we bring in the cylinder, it's just going to be right on top. We don't have to worry about moving it up or down in the Z direction. It'll just make things a little bit easier. Alright, so for the dimensions of this, we have a diameter of 16 and we have a height of 15. So that means that we need to hold shift, click on a corner, and change the width and the length to be 16 by 16. And then we can just change the height to be 15. So just move it down one. And then again, if we just click and highlight all of our shapes, we can align them together in the center and in the center. And if we click on our work plane and we move up to our next one, now we can start the next shape. So our next shape here is this top cone, and again we're working in radii and not diameter, so the base of this cone here is going to be the same as the base of the cylinder, so that's 16 in diameter, so 8 is the radius there, and then at the top it's 6, so 3. So our base is 8 and our top is going to be 3. We'll bring in our cone, change the top to 3, the base to 6, and then the height, we just need to take a look and see the height for this kind of neck of the bottle here is 15. So the height would be 15, and then we're ready to do another alignment. So we'll click and highlight, align in the center, and in the center. What happened here? Let's check. Our base radius, oh, it's supposed to be 8. There we go. Always good to move those things in. And then I did say that I was going to increase the number of sides to make this smoother. So to get your work plane back to the original place so that we can access these, you just click off anywhere. So you choose work plane and then you click in the space. I'm just increasing the number of sides on these cylinders and cones so that it can be a little bit smoother of a surface. Okay, so the last thing we need is this final top cylinder here. So again, we'll change our work place so that we're working, or work plane, so we're working on top of that last cone that we just built. We'll bring in this cylinder, and if we're looking at the blueprint here, final dimension, so the diameter of the cylinder is 8 millimeters and the height is 5. So if we click on that cylinder, we click and hold, or hold shift and click on a corner, 8 was that diameter, and then the height was 5, right? 8 and the height was 5. Perfect. So we'll do one final alignment here. In the center, and in the center. And once we move the work plane back to its original place, then we can click and highlight all of those 5 different parts, group them together, and we have our bottom. So, there we go. Alright, good luck, and we will see you at the exam.